everybody, Vinny Fisher here, back with another episode of Total CEO. I've got a guest today that I'm real excited about. You know, we look at our businesses, we look at, you know, what we do with our businesses, and as an entrepreneur, we hit certain levels and we get stuck, right? There's natural places in the growth of a business that we get stuck. And, you know, having been a guy that's grown multiple 8-figure companies, I've experienced personally places where you get stuck. And so today we're not only going to be talking about how you're breaking through those barriers where as an entrepreneur, you need assistance and help on how to break through those spots, but we're going to get some expertise guidance in that area. But interestingly, we're going to get there from a guy who's a franchise expert, and we'll have a wonderful perspective on when franchise fits in, where that belongs, and also just this idea of rapid expansion, which is what happens in franchises. So I'd like to welcome Hossein Kasmai. Kasmai, how do you say that?
Kasmai.
Kasmai, I had it right the first time. I should have just left it. I'm a big fan of making sure we say names right. And since you have a name that from an American perspective is usually gets butchered, what's the favorite way usually someone says Hossein?
Oh, my favorite way, or what's the typical way they say it?
Okay, good. Answered either way.
The typical way is Hussein, but it really is Hossein Kasmai.
Hossein.
Yes.
Awesome. Love it. Well, Hossein, you have a business called Franchise Creator, and we can find you at franchisecreator.com. That's awesome. For everyone watching and listening, you'll see that in the show notes. So go check them out. But Hossein, I want to ask you a real awesome question. But before we get into some of those questions, you're the franchise creator. You have this like brand about you. You're like a guru. Why don't you give the audience a little bit of a peek under the hood as to why they should dive in and be real excited about this show?
Well, thank you for having me on the show, Vinny. Well, franchising is, to me, the most efficient way and the effective way to grow a business. A lot of business owners get that anxiety because they've hit that point where they don't know how to get to the next level. They're working the rat race every single day, coming in, trying to deal with their clients, trying to deal with the payroll, and you know all of the different things that a business owner goes through. But yet they want to grow. They just don't have the time. They don't have the funds. They don't have the ways, the means to grow the business. Franchising provides that vehicle for them. So I'm excited to be on this show. I want to talk about that. I want to talk about other ways that we can help here at Franchise Creator these businesses get to that next level without spending their own money.
All right, Hossein. So let me ask you this. So let's pick on one of my companies and use that as a great way to engage people. So I own one of our brands is called Fully Accountable. It's from a full service accounting firm. We specialize in e-commerce, in digital, but we've launched something this year called Trusted Advisor, where we're training other accounting professionals on how to do accounting really in a new age technology, not kind of older school. And we've grown to a substantial 7-figure business. And we see one of the ways that we could grow would be to create locations, right? So I purposely use that word locations because sometimes people get caught up in this concept of franchise. So like, how does somebody know when they should be evaluating whether a franchise or this location play is the right move for them? What's the first thing? What signs should they pay attention to?
So the biggest key to franchising is that you're going to have vested individuals with a vested interest that are now ready to run your business. These are guys that come in, put their money up, put their time up. They're going to start a business like yours in their own city, location, like you said. And because of that, business is going to be run just like you run it. If you look at 43 or 44,000 subways that are out there, you would think, when you duplicate something 44,000 times, you're going to get one wrong, or one of them is going to be dirty, or one of them is going to be out of bread, or one of them is not going to have ham or turkey. But every single one runs like a machine, right? That's because each individual location is being run by an owner, just like that first location that a business owner, in this case, you started.
Yeah.
You care about that location. So each location cares about the operation. And for that reason, it runs like clockworks.
Yeah. So I get it, right? I get the idea of systemization and process. But how does like an entrepreneur who's got an established business, who's kind of stuck, what things do they look to? What things do you evaluate that somebody has something that's a viable opportunity to turn into a franchise?
Okay, so if you have a business that's growing, so sometimes people ask me, my clients ask me, how long should I be in business before I consider franchising? If you look at majority of companies that are successful now as a franchise, some of the big brands that you see out there, they really were in business only for a year or maybe shorter before they started the franchise concept of franchise expansion.
Okay.
So time isn't important. What you need to have is a system that's accepted by the public. So if you have a product, a service, whether it's food, whether it's a fitness program, whether it's healthcare, whatever it is that you're providing, if that business is growing, people are liking it, people are giving you good ratings online, people are talking about it on social media, this is a business that you say, okay, if it's working for me, the business is growing month after month, and I'm seeing that growth, and I know how to duplicate it. Why? Because the business is duplicatable, right? And also doesn't depend on the owner. It's not like a particular individual in this location that if you remove that person, the business completely fails. If that other person in the other location can be trained to mimic the same identity, then that business is franchisable. So these are very, very small criteria that we look at before we decide if a business is really franchisable or not. It really isn't very complex. Most businesses are franchisable.
Okay, interesting. So, I like that. It's a clear map for people. So, I imagine listeners are probably ringing in their ears the same thing I'm ringing in my ears. Okay, great. Here I am at Fully Accountable. We're growing. I wouldn't say we're got more leads than we can handle, but there's a fine tension always there in growing and scaling a business. And so, our trusted advisor platform is exploding, and there's all kinds of professionals out there. And I'm like, wow, franchise could legitimately work for a handful of situations. And it's exciting. If I wanted to go down that road, like two things are in my head. Like, I'm like, that sounds like another job. And two, that sounds expensive. And so how do we deal with this friction of it? Like that, it's like raising money or bringing in a partner. It's like a whole nother job growing this franchise. So let's start there before we deal with the money part, because I'm sure people are thinking about that as well. Like, how do we deal with the friction of the entrepreneur growing the business and now this idea of growing a franchise, which sounds like maybe another business within the business?
So, Vinny, I like that question a lot because we deal with this very problem every single day in our office here at Franchise Creator. What happens is sometimes people, for us dealing with business owners is really a matter of education. A lot of them don't really understand franchising. When the word franchise comes up, they think of big brands. Oh, I'm not ready for that. I'm just a small brand. I've only been in business for a year and a half. But the reality is majority of businesses that are franchises today are actually small brands. They're entry level, they're emerging brands that are out there. So the key is to hire a consultant that can handle the entire job so that you as the business owner can continue to run your business and do the everyday thing and continue to keep the business going and making it grow. If you were to take off from that and go and concentrate on franchising, which is, you said raising money. That's a very good point. Raising money, Vinny, you're going to have to give up equity. You're going to have to give up a part of your company to someone who's going to give you money. And now he's going to have a say in your day-to-day operation. With franchising, there is no equity play. You keep 100% ownership in your company, and franchisees that come on board are going to listen to what you ask them to do. So they're not the guy that gave you money, whether it's an angel investor or a VC firm, that's going to be dictating things to you. It's actually the other way around. You're telling them how to run their operation. So if you hire a consultant that can do the entire gamut, if he can put together the entire package that you need, including your marketing and sales products, right? Because once you franchise your business, you want to know, where do I go from here? How do I find the prospect out there across the country that's interested in my franchise? So somebody has to put together this marketing and sales product. There's accounting work that's needed. There's legal documents that have to be created. Attorneys have to be involved.
All of that, right? I mean, there's that whole thing, and makes sense. Go get an expert, right? So I'm with Hossein Kasmai, who is the franchise creator. I love that. You're like a guru. It's great. And so your crew over at franchisecreator.com, you do that, right? So if you were in the business of helping someone franchise, they would come to your organization and you guys would be one of the options of picking up the ball and running with that, right?
100%, 100%. Yeah, Franchise Creator. We are one of the leading franchise consulting firms in the nation. We provide the entire system. You know, this is not an attorney that you go to that gives you the legal documents, shakes your hands, and says, "Have a nice day," and then you say, "Okay, now what do I do with this?" And that's the common mistake people make. Going to a consultant allows you to do the entire package, and that's exactly what we do here at Franchise.
Love it. So we're going to go ahead and assume that you guys are amazing experts, and that's awesome. That's exciting. It's a place to go. So when I look at this, now the next question of a business in a business, we've solved that with the consultant. That's awesome. The next two things that ring in my ear, how long and how much. And so how long that would an entrepreneur anticipate kind of the process of, like, so to speak, raising their hand, engaging a firm like yours to the point when what's your standard you see if someone's cooperative and does the work where they're live and acting as a franchise? How long is that runway?
So we typically, again, try to take all the burden away from the business owner so they can continue doing their thing. We conduct an initial questionnaire here at Franchise Creator. We take about an hour of that business owner's time. We pick his brain. We understand how the business was formed. And we understand who the owners are. We understand the background of the owners. We understand the system in as a whole. And with that information, we have enough in our hands to be able to go off and conduct our research, which is the first step of the process, to find out how do we construct this franchise? How do we architect this franchise? That's the second step of the process. So all of that is happening in the background when the business owner is continuing.
So that's that, like, initial phase one. Yep, got it. Makes a lot of sense to me. And then, so there's probably a phase one, a phase two, and a phase three kind of process to this. How long is that? We'll break those phases down, but just to give our audience something to kind of grab onto what this runway looks like. What's your typical, if you measured all of your clients, what's the typical runway of completing all those phases?
It's about 90 days, Vinny. From the beginning to the day you start selling franchises is 90 days. And then, of course, after the 90th day, now you are a franchise according to the Federal Trade Commission rules and regulations. And then we kind of switch hats and we begin marketing and selling those franchises for our clients.
So forgetting the cost of you guys, because we'll let clients figure that out. How much hard cost does a business usually take on in going through this process?
So, it's funny because the cost really is, when you think of franchising, people say, oh, is this going to cost me hundreds of thousands of dollars? But the reality is not. Businesses can be franchised anywhere between $40,000 to $60,000 to $70,000, depending on the structure of the company and how it's formed and what industry they're in, whether they're in healthcare, whether it's a restaurant franchise, if it's a new concept, or all of that. But it's really that it's not very much. And I want to bring one point up, Vinny, and this is very important since we're talking about cost. When it comes to franchising your business, it is the single greatest business decision a business owner can ever make. And the reason for it is, so as a business owner, you yourself, Vinny, when you started your business, you always think to yourself, well, it's going to cost me X amount of dollars to start this business. And once I do, now I'm really rolling the dice, because you really have no idea what your return on investment, better known as ROI. What is my ROI? Is it going to take me a year, 2, 3, 4 years before I get that initial investment back? And it's all really very dark, because if no one calls you, if the phones don't ring, you're not going to get your money back. In franchising, when you think about how much it takes you to start franchising your business, which I just mentioned, it really takes the sale of a single franchise, perhaps two, in order to recoup that investment. Now, depending on the industry you're in, the sale of your single franchise will happen in weeks or months, certainly not in years. So it's the greatest ROI, is the fastest way you get that initial investment back. And that adds a tremendous valuation increase in your business as well. If your business is worth X, now that you're a franchise operation, meaning that you remove the ceiling of growth, now you can grow as fast as you want, anywhere you want. your valuation is by far higher. So if you have an exit strategy in mind, you want to get out because, hey, this is not what I want to do for the rest of my life. I want to be able to get out and do something else. That's your exit right there, because you can get out at a very good valuation.
Hossein, can somebody come to you and seek advice as to whether this is the right move without having to make the commitment of moving forward?
100%, Vinny. Franchise creator here, we provide free consultation, franchisability of your business. It's all free. You can come into our office, you can call us, you can email us. Our email is info@franchisecreator.com. If you email us here, or if you just go to our website, fill out the contact form, we actually contact you. We speak to you on the phone. We ask you a whole lot of questions. And I actually get to talk to a lot of these business owners, and I evaluate their business and let them know exactly, hey, listen, franchising is for you or isn't for you. And if it is for you, what we expect and how we expect to grow your business through franchising.
Yeah, I love how you, thank you. That's great. So, if you heard what he said, go check him out. If you're interested in this is appealing to you, go look. And if you're not sure, go look also. I mean, it's a way. I'm intrigued more. I've been thinking about this for this brand and maybe even for our other brand, but I just love the concept behind it, and it makes a lot of sense. So I like something you said earlier, Hossein, if we can get back there. I wanted to get back to this, this struggle where I think I'm like growing my own thing. I'm kind of capped out. Like, have you figured out, or well, maybe it's this journey, along this journey of the entrepreneur, like what signs do you start paying attention to as you're looking for clients or people to help, where we're in this friction point where we're resisting this, but it's really something we should be looking at?
So, again, Vinny, this goes back to what I said earlier, and that is, for me, it's a matter of education. Once business owners get to talk to us, and once again, I want to reiterate our franchisability testing or consultation, all of that is free. So once a business owner learns about franchising and understands what franchising means, it's very, very unlikely for them to say this is not for me, or I'm not ready, or any of that. It's a matter of really learning about it. So, we talk to tens of business owners here at Franchise Creator on a given week, and I can tell you that 99, maybe even 99.9% of those are business owners. Once they learn about franchising and their eyes open about it, they're ready to go. They want to take the next step.
What's the thing that's hold away? So obviously we're not having a 99% success rate in people who move forward on it. So what's the number one factor that once they realize they are, but they're still held back from doing it?
It always comes down to one thing, and that is, okay, I don't have the funds to get started with this, right? If the funds are available, and for that, I always tell people the same thing, Vinny, is that, listen, if the funds aren't available to take the next step, you got to consider, how do I grow my business? You've been doing this for 5 years, for 6 years, for 7 years. And I assure you, you don't take this step now, 7 years from now, you'll be doing the same thing and we'll be having the same conversation.
Yeah, so, Hossein, 94% of businesses don't make it to the 10th year.
They don't. You're right. You're right.
What are there stats like that in franchises? Where the real friction is? It the first 3 years? Is it year one? Like, where's the high friction point of whether it's going to work or not work? Have you seen that?
Great question, Vinny. So there is the Chamber of Commerce actually puts out a very nice chart that says, if you start your business on your own, you have a 50-50 chance of making it to the second year, past the first year, literally.
Yep.
And you have a 25% chance to be in business 5 years from now. So 75% of businesses that start today won't be around 5 years from now. Right. Now, in contrast to franchising, 5 years out, franchises, people that bought a franchise, have a 92% chance to still be in business under the same ownership. Wow. It's not like they sold a business or anything else. So 92% of businesses versus 25%. And wow, that's a huge.
How does that drop off significantly up to year 10? Like, what does that look like?
It doesn't. Most franchises, when you buy a franchise, you're committing to keeping that place open for a number of years, typically 10 years, and then people renew. Very seldom you see a franchise close. And the reason for it, Vinny, is very simple, because that business has been already proven by the owners, by the founders. All the kinks have been taken out. The founders went through all the hardship. They made all the mistakes. They paid the price with time and money, so that you as a franchise owner who's ready to buy a franchise, you're not going to make those mistakes. And for that reason, the system works.
I love it. So we're with the franchise creator. I love it. And so, you can find these guys over at franchisecreator.com. So one of the things I love to do as we're nearing the end of a show, Hossein, is to look under the hood with what's going on with you, right? This is an entire audience of business owners, CEOs striving to be, either getting into 7 figures or getting up into 8 figures, right? That's our entire audience. And so, one of the valuable things we've learned in our show is to learn from some of our own things that are going on in our business. So right now inside Franchise Creator, like what's the number one initiative that you need to work on? That's the thing that's the biggest struggle in the business right now.
Are you talking about me or a business owner?
Your business.
Oh, in our business, one of the things about me is I'm an engineer by background and by degree. So I'm actually
one bit based on your personality.
So I try to keep up with technology in everything I've ever done in my life. In every business that I've ever started, I try to incorporate technology in there, because for me, technology is where we headed. I mean, it's going to own us. It's going to rule our everyday lives, and we kind of beginning to see that. So one of the challenges now is the whole concept of social media. Social media has become a source for the go-to source before you pick which restaurant you're going to go to, before you pick who you're going to do business with, before you do anything. Social media and all of that is what people are going to. So we're trying to adapt that into our system, and learn that and become more proactive about it.
And so the question was your biggest struggle. So if you have a culture that has historically not been on social media, so working through all of that is one of your bigger challenges right now?
It is. And you know what, we here at Franchise Creator have the same struggles in any business. We're a business ourselves, right? And the struggle always is, okay, we're growing. Franchise Creator has grown significantly since its inception. We've pretty much doubled our size in a yearly. So with that comes all the growing pains. You need new employees, and finding employees in South Florida, which in the Miami region, it's always a difficult thing. And for that, there's always been a huge challenge, bringing people on. And, we pick the highest quality people. And of course, franchising is one of those things that there are no experts out there. You got to bring them in and train them. So those are the challenges that we deal with. But frankly, our business is no different than anybody else. Everybody has the same challenge.
That's why you said a couple of things in there that, I just wanted to jump on that grenade. Finding talent locally is real, and it's a process, right? And, our entire brand, Total Team, is built on that concept. Real good, great people are all around you. It's the process of looking for them, right? So every business has that problem. The other problem every business has is this adapting to the new way of acquiring awareness and customers. And so social media, right? Imagine you and I 10 years ago establishing a business versus right now. I would way rather be working right now than 10 years ago, because my ability to get my message out so fast and succinctly is the best time to really be scaling and growing your company, because you can put so much awareness out so quickly. Sadly, I see a lot of, because that's one of our expertise, is what we do in our business and why it's growing so well, is that people put out this diluted message that tries to speak to everybody when you need to speak to a very specific person. So one word of encouragement is make sure, as your social media team is growing this out, that you dial in and not speak to every business about franchise. I would look under the hood of my clients and see the most successful ones and try to speak directly to that type of person, because believe it or not, there's this gigantic lie out there about trying to be available to everybody. The best way to be available to more people is to know exactly who you're talking to. And so as you launch into that social media, I would really keep it very tight who you talk to, because that gives permission for that person to talk to you, and it allows other people to dream about being in that position. And so it's just the opposite, where people think they want to broaden to every small business owner. Well, that message isn't going to work. And when you do that, you're not gonna. You're gonna get like a lot of other clients and friends. They're gonna fizzle out on their social media because like it just doesn't work. I'm gonna go back to banging on the doors and sending emails and doing all these other things. So that's one encouragement for you. That's what we try to do sometimes on the show. You hit my hot button, social media and acquiring customers. So I just give you that little bit of word of tidbit if that's helpful to you.
It is, Vinny, and you're absolutely correct. It's it is amazing as you go across platforms how the system changes as well. You know what I mean?
I would think LinkedIn would be a great place where you should be eating really well. And offline, our show is nearing end here, but you ever want to come and I'm considered an expert in that, but more because we did it for our clients. I'm not in the business of doing it for anyone outside of the accounting world, but if done correctly with the right cadence, you should be mopping it up in LinkedIn. And if you're not, you better ask good questions and get to meet people who are mopping it up in LinkedIn. But I would think with your model, I would be very aware of not touching other channels and driving LinkedIn as deep as I possibly could.
100%. LinkedIn is a valuable source for us. It really is. But it's just not only social media. It's a combination of ways that to reach businesses or individuals. Again, we remember our business provides two factors. One, we franchise businesses. Yep. And two, we sell those franchises to individuals, to people like any people that's out there, as an entrepreneur looking for a business to start. Yep. We have tens of concepts in every industry you can imagine, and we provide that. And all of that you can find it at franchisecreator.com.
That's awesome. Well, we're at the end. I want to really thank you for being on the show today. Hossein, this has been educational. I think we're going to be fast friends, because I'm going to take you up on your offer about finding out more and see if our brands are eligible and no longer just kind of kick that can down to another day. And so I'm looking forward to that. Thanks for being on the show today.
It's my pleasure. I want to leave you with one thing, and that is and I want your listeners to understand this, Vinny, is that a lot of times these business owners are acting like a franchise. They're growing their business like a franchise, but they're not really a franchise, right? So in other words, they're opening another location and they're having a person there to pay them some money, use their brand, and then pay them money monthly. That is a franchise, and you can get in a whole lot of trouble with the FTC.
I'm really glad you raised that. You can, it's just like employee versus independent contractor. You are it by a test, and the FTC has a set of rules, right? Me, the lawyer, always pays attention to that. So if you heard that, everybody, you can be a franchise by activity, not just by you raising your hand. So pay attention to that. If you're in locations and you're acting and smelling and looking like a franchise, you might be designated one by our friends at the FTC.
That's exactly right. Well, thank you so much, Vinny. It was a pleasure to be on your show today, and I look for your listeners to go to our website and hopefully reach out to us.
All right, great. Thanks for being on the show today.
Thank you, Vinny.